What we're going to do today is we're going to get learnified on some of the stuff that's going on in the state and nationally. Mr. Wood's going to, give us a perspective on the planetary takeover of, every living human entity on the planet. How that's done at a local level is Jeff Greenspan's job. So Jeff, I don't know, most of you probably know who Jeff is. Jeff's been around for a long time. He was the Southwest coordinator in the United States for the Ron Paul campaign in 08 and 12. So inside the Campaign for Liberty, the Ron Paul campaign, Ron Paul's America, Ron Paul, Jeff knows. But more importantly, the reason why I had him come today, there's a lot of stuff that's going on inside the Republican Party, in politics in general, and to have an understanding of what's really going on, why, how, Jeff's going to help us out. But I had on my show yesterday, Senator Ward, what's her name?
Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly Ward. Kelly Ward comes on, she's going to tell libertarian how much she loves America, okay? I got a bill. It's against the NSA. We're going to stop that NSA, and we're going to get them and get them. And I go, okay, well, what's the bill say? You cannot give any material support and this and that and help in kind of whatever you're guilty of. All right? Let me tell you how I know. I already know what happens. I don't even have to read the bill. I don't have to look at it. Who came to visit you? Well, IBM, of course. IBM comes up and says, hey, we went through this before, and and we got in all kinds of trouble because we were helping Nazi Germany. All right? Well, doing exactly the same thing. And he said, well, it says in your bill here that, if we help them and do this and forward and accumulate data, we'd be guilty. Well, what if we didn't know? We need you to put a word in there that says knowingly helps the NSA do not. I go, you add that one word, and you're going to spend 2 years trying to figure out if they knowingly or not. Okay? So I'm going, your bill don't mean anything anymore. I go, is there something you can do? Leave me alone to where I have legislation, God, we're going to be free by y'all. You do that, I'm all over it. She's like, well, it's kind of, a lot of people don't know how it really works. No, I know exactly how it really works, okay? So I don't get all kinds of warm fuzzies from it, because I've been through this so many times before. Okay, we're awake. So I'm looking for legislators and or legislation that we can at least use as an example and say, hey man, Arizona doesn't suck. We got, silver, gold, and copper or something for tender or something. Give me something. But it's always bastardized. If you listen to the show that I did with her, and during the break, I record in the archive the break. So that's really good. Donna tells them, we get acknowledgement on air, say, hey, this is being recorded. FYI. Way more people listen to the archive and on iTunes and all the other stuff than they do the live broadcast. They think that the big audience is live broadcast. They don't know that the real show is off air, okay? And I go, so seriously, tell me what's up, So you want to know what's going on, you listen to the archive show. So what we're going to go ahead and do is just whoever gets there first wins. Let's go ahead and get our breakfast and everything. As soon as we all get done, sat down, we'll start off with Jeff. And you guys ready? Yeah. Rock and roll. Okay, let's do it. Good morning. The Arizona Breakfast Club's been around for a long time, 40 years doing rock and roll and whatnot, and making sure you know what's going on behind the scenes. When the internet started, it started to wax and wane attendance. You got a lot, but then you started to find out you still didn't really get everything, What we're going to do today, you'll see, Donna, did you pass out the workshop thing? Okay, I think it might be on the table there or something. We have at the, excuse me while you interrupt.
Yeah, right?
We have at the farm today, starting at noon to 4, around in there. It's $10 a person. I mean, it's $20 a person, and it's only 10 people. I think they may have, have their 10 guys already, but you're welcome to come by. we're doing turning on the Aquadome this weekend. There is an add-on that we have that's a vertical airlift pump goes up. Some of you have seen the airlift pump working, and the water goes back and forth. It's a wall of lettuce, okay? Then we have the grow bins and the float bins and the sink. The Aquadome is flipped on this weekend. We started planting the plants this week. So all the grandkids are like, yeah, we're gonna have us tomatoes and stuff. So I juice a lot, and it's very expensive to get good organic vegetables. If you got the farmer's market here, you go, it's like $13, $15 a bag of how much vegetables you can stuff in there. And I'm like, I'm trying to get as much as I can. But the thing that we're hoping to accomplish is starting within about a month or so. It's already, they're going, we're gonna be saving ourselves a lot of money. Now, the airlift in this wall is made for people that have small patios, they're townhouses, condos, that you can have a lot of food in an area about from the wall out to here and in less than distance here. So it's just a wall of food. So those that want to know how to do that, we put that on Freedom's Phoenix. They're coming today to do that. The Freedom Summit, I'm going to give the Arizona Breakfast Club, this is probably the last meeting before the summit. We may do one, no, this is it, before the summit. So what we'll do is there is a package that's going to be on there, a discount if you use silver or Bitcoin. For, a reduced price, you're going to get all kinds of stuff. If you are interested, you go to thefreedomsummit.com, go ahead and, fill out the full package or whatever you want. I'll give you that discount even if you don't use silver or Bitcoin, and that will come up Tuesday morning. When that comes up, that's a good time to buy it, and I'll give you the Arizona Breakfast Club discount. So if you got a problem, just email me, and I'm the publisher at Freedom's Phoenix, and you'll have all kinds of contact information there on the site. So we'll go ahead and do that for you. Here's the flyer for the workshop today. We have the Freedom Summit. You look at the names, and it's the most awesome of the awesomes. Now, one that we added is Patrick Byrne is CEO of Overstock.com. Overstock.com is like Amazon. And what they're going to do is they're already starting to take Bitcoin. So the guys at Dottie Barker, Bitcoin.bomb, Megan Kellison is doing a presentation on Bitcoin. We have Cody Wilson, the 3D gun guy. They made 3D gun, but that was just an intellectual property thing. There was a whole bunch more behind it than you realize. And he's big into Bitcoin, and of course Patrick Byrne. So all the Bitcoin industry, everybody interested in that are freaking jumping up and down and having a good time. We also have a lot of the names, but the Saturday night is going to be Will Brigg and Larkin Rose. That's the Saturday night entertainment. Now that's $75 if you just want to do that. So go to the site, you figured out Freedom Summit, we've been doing this since '01. Dr. Paul's spoken at 3 of them. I mean, we had Peter Schiff, predicting everything that was going to happen in like the next year. It happened. All these economics guys, Charles Goyette's going to be there, Judge Buttrick, a federal judge. Conflict resolution in the post-zombie apocalypse. How are you going to do that? Are we going to have any law? I don't know. We should talk to a libertarian federal judge. So this is going to be a great time. The Breakfast Club, we got to do one more thing before we get to Jeff, is we got to sing for our breakfast. That's just the way it is. It's a good time to get acquainted. It's a good time to know who is sitting right beside you and to smile and say hello. Goodbye, that lonesome feeling. Goodbye, classy stare. Here's my hand, my name is Courtney. Put your hand right there. Yeah. All right. Jeff Greenspan has requested that the cameras be off because he's going to give us some inside secret dealings in the Republican Party at a national, state, local level. And if you ever spend any time with Jeff on this convention, working, doing the expression of the people, towards the party, you see what's really going on. Because at a county and state level, John McCain, Senator, national, international news, the Republican parties in Arizona said, I break with thee, and they threw dog poop on his shoes. Okay? I don't want, we're done. But what does that mean? We have no idea. Jeff Green's fan. We're going to have Jeff back, I'm sure, as this process goes on. Nothing surprises me. I was county chairman of the Libertarian Party back in the 90s, and I had counterparts in the Democrat and Republican parties. And in '94, Libertarians really came on strong. You know, Judge Buttrick now was running for governor and that kind of thing. What happened, we would go to the schools. As we go to the schools, they'd have beginning of the school season, let's hear from the Republican, oh, now I got a plan, and this is my plan. We got the Democrat, and I got a better plan than his plan sucks, and we got a plan. And then the Libertarian, I get up to these kids, and I go, well, our plan is for you to have your own plan. I mean, you know, you get to do what you want, as long as you're not bothered. So this, as years would go on, they just stopped inviting the Republicans and Democrats, and we would, every year, we'd go to September, Brophy prep for a week. We'd go in, you know, one time it'd be monetary system, then it'd be, you know, court system, and it'd be, you know, get into a lot of things. As years went on, you know, I would go to other schools too. What happened in '94, there was a big election law fraud stuff, and they started going to the computers, and they had the T1 line that from the World Trade Center, there was a line, that T1 line that went in, they moved it there to get access to this communication, went into the counting computers. As it was counting the ballots, it was connected to the internet. And we go, do I get to say I vote no, you know? So the Republican, the Democrat, and myself, we all signed a letter saying we did not want that line connected as they were counting the ballots. Immediately, the Democrat guy was fired. The Republican guy was fired. Now, these are paid executive director positions that were kind of the guys that actually went out and did the work. So I'm going, well, so I think I already know. When all this other stuff happens, when the internal party stuff is going on, when they created a mirror parallel party, when we had the Levolution, and those of you that were in the conventions and saw it like this, in Nevada we had friends that went through all this process. Dr. Paul, they knew he was going to win, like all the delegates. They turned off the lights. They just turned off the lights. Convention's over, life sucks. They put the ballots in the hotel safe, casino safe. 2 years later, after a lawsuit, they finally open counted them. Ron Paul won the whole thing. And this is at a time when they could not have a single delegate for Ron. This was going on in Louisiana and Arkansas. It was all over the country. So what happened is these young activists, you know, like Matt and these guys, they all ideally, oh yeah, they're not going to change the rules in the middle of a convention in Tampa. They would never do that. That would be wrong, you know. So I'm going, all this stuff, I'm just, oh, you guys are, I appreciate your naivete. It means you're a good person. You think people act, and it really, the vast majority of people are good. They have a standard of right and wrong. But I tell you, politics, it's like a vacuum-sucking sound of the worst sort of scumbags that get in there because it's a collective power. There's always this collectivization of, show me a handle to a suitcase with a bunch of block of voting something, and that handle's mine. And they'll go to use every means to get control of it. So the whole goal is to eliminate handles. The promise of this country was individual rights. I go for the smallest minority. Oh, we got minority rights, women's rights, black rights, this right, everybody got to have a right and gender, kind of, and I almost wish I was bi, kind of something. Okay? And I'm from minority rights more than you are. Oh no, you couldn't possibly be. I think rights of people that have mustaches and blue eyes and always carry a gun should have special rights. You know, I'm going, I support the rights of the individual, the smallest minority. It's collectivism that we're against. Patrick Wood is going to give us a demonstration of how powerful and how big these collectives can be and how much jurisdiction they claim over everybody's life. Now, before the internet, it was the Breakfast Club. When you heard this stuff, that was it. You didn't go to the Breakfast Club, you didn't know what the hell was going on. Now the internet, you know, you get a little bit more access to information, but then it's it's almost overwhelming. You need some perspective. You need a filter. You need somebody that can show you how it's happening at a local level like Jeff did. And now we're going to get a dose from Patrick Wood.
that's coming up. Let me first say that can you all hear me okay? I'll do the best I can. This presentation closes the loop on the Arizona Breakfast Club for me. And so this is a good thing. I never anticipated 37 years ago that I would fast forward to do my wrap-up presentation, if you will, to the Arizona Breakfast Club. But here we are. And I doubt there's any old-timers here that remember those days or attended those meetings, maybe a couple. Back in, well, let's see what we got now. Going another way direction here. Let's see. Lost my settings. Let me get it back. And come on. There we go. Sorry about the skew. There's nothing we can do about it. It turns out. There we go. Better. 37 years ago, I was writing about the Trilateral Commission with my co-editor, author, Professor Anthony Sutton, who at the time had just been booted from Stanford University, the Hoover Institution, where he was a research fellow and a prolific author. And they were feasting on some toes vis-a-vis the Trilateral Commission, and found out the hard way that Packard was the president of Stanford at the time, and founder of Hewlett Packard, also a member of the Trilateral Commission. They decided that Tony was expendable, so they put him out in the street. That's not a good thing to do to a scholar, because when you lose your publisher and you lose your platform, basically you die in poverty. Unfortunately, that was the end of Professor Sutton. He did, in fact, die in poverty some years later, actually 2002. But we told Arizona, and I was from Scottsdale at the time, by the way, we told Arizona exactly what the Trilateral Commission was up to. We analyzed their policies, we interviewed their people, their members, we debated their members in public, and we figured out, cracked exactly what they were trying to do back then, starting really in 1977. And the Arizona Breakfast Club was in fact one of the groups that we addressed early on. And those people, back in those days, they were in the know. They were the very few of the very few people that were in the know. And it's too bad. You will remember Senator Barry Goldwater. When I was in my office in Scottsdale, one day I had a visitor kind of slam through the front door. We hadn't had any resistance, by the way, from anybody at that point. Never been contacted by federal authorities or anybody else. Nobody took any shots at us, nothing like that. And but I was always just a little bit worried someday somebody's going to visit me. And you know, what am I going to say if they do? Well, this guy barges through my office door one day, wearing a suit and necktie, looked a little bit like I don't know, some kind of maybe policing official, because he was kind of bulky like this too. And he said, I want to know what you know about the Trilateral Commission. That's exactly like he said it. And I thought, uh-oh, curtains. And, the next thing, they're going to come in with a squad, and they're going to take me out in handcuffs or something. But he said, no, I want to know what you know about the Trilateral Commission. And I said, well, who are you? And he explained that he was Senator Goldwater's chief of staff. Some of you may remember who that was. Just trivia at this point, but it was Stephen Shattuck. And he wanted to know what we knew, because the senator was writing a book, and he also had stumbled upon the Trilateral Commission in his days as senator. And to this day, Goldwater is the only politician who has ever publicly mentioned the names together, the words Trilateral Commission, in the right context for 40 years. The only politician.
Wow.
And since then, I want to say, I have face-to-face explained to politicians, both Democrat and Republican and liberal and independent, whatever, what this group is all about, what they've done to us. It goes in one ear and out the other, and they walk away and do nothing. They don't mention it. There's like a cone of silence. You remember Get Smart, the TV series? Remember the cone of silence come down? And they couldn't hear themselves stock. Well, that's what's happened, unfortunately, with the Trilateral Commission. But here's what Senator Goldwater wrote back then. The Trilateral Commission is international and is intended to be the vehicle for multinational consolidation of the commercial and banking interests by seizing control of the political government of the United States. The Trilateral Commission represents a skillful, coordinated effort to seize control and consolidate the four centers of power. And that came from his book, his memoirs book, Political, Monetary, Intellectual, and Ecclesiastical. We're not going to talk about ecclesiastical or intellectual this morning. He wrote that in 1979. That was at the same time we had just finished our two books, Trilaterals over Washington. He had determined this information independently from us, I want to say. It's not our information. He did it, he figured this out on his own, and he wrote about it. Unfortunately, that was the only paragraph in a 282-page book that he mentioned the Trilateral Commission. But there you go. I want to explain, and I'm just going to take you through the timeline of history to explain what they've done, how they've done it, and what it's done to us. The early days of the commission, you'll remember, it was co-founded in 1973, this is important, by David Rockefeller and Zbigniew Brzezinski. 1973, by the way, is probably the most important historical milestone of the last century. More stuff happened in 1973 and a little bit 2 and 4 that set the watershed for what we have today in our country and actually around the world. But the commission was founded by David Rockefeller and a young academic by the name of Zbigniew Brzezinski. They floated the idea originally at the 1972 Bilderberg meeting in Europe. The Bilderberg meeting is only a discussion group, mind you, it's not a conspiracy in and of itself at all. It really is a discussion group. It just happens to be that's the movers and shakers where they all go to consort and to have drinks together and talk about, smoke cigars or whatever. And so Rockefeller took Brzezinski along with him. He never would have gotten in by himself to talk to the other buddies or cronies about his idea. And we'll talk about Brzezinski's idea, but he was an academic, remember. There was originally 289 hand-picked members. You did not apply for membership. They went out and picked you. And they were from North America, Europe, and Japan. That's why the word trilateral comes into play. Tri means three. There's nothing more to it. Just trilateral, it referred to the three regions where they picked members from. 97 were from the United States. They cut across Democrats and Republicans and every other political persuasion. In fact, political persuasion had nothing to do with this. The membership was very diverse. It consisted of bankers. Unquestionably, David Rockefeller himself was the chairman of Chase Manhattan Bank, you remember. Industrialists, multinational corporations, academics, politicians, media, law firms, and NGOs. This was a very diverse group of people, but the membership was assembled with a specific purpose in mind. This was not just a social club, anybody come who wants to come. These people were picked for specific reasons to fulfill specific roles as time went forward. And by the way, if what I'm talking to you is just kind of Greek to you, I can't stop to make it any better, but we'll talk about it later. The executive office in 1976 was hijacked by this group. You cannot understand what's happening today unless you understand there was a massive coup that took place in 1976 with the election of Jimmy Carter and Walter Mondale. Both of them were members of the Trilateral Commission. Both of them, a clean sweep. Carter was picked by Brzezinski, and we knew this back then in '79. Carter was picked by Brzezinski to be president. He was a peanut farmer from Georgia, for Pete's sake, and not a very good governor of Georgia, that is. And so he was groomed in foreign policy, groomed in the statesmanship that Brzezinski and Rockefeller wanted to put forward. And so when they swept into office, it's no surprise that Brzezinski was immediately appointed to be National Security Advisor for Jimmy Carter. This is the second most powerful position in our nation, by the way, because nothing gets to the president's ears except that it comes through the fingers and the eyes and so on of the National Security Advisor, the NSA. If you doubt my analysis that this is the second most powerful position in the country, it's not that they just make up stuff, it's that you can't get through them unless they want you to get through. And then Carter appointed almost 1/3 of the remaining membership of the Trilateral Commission to top administration and cabinet posts. All but one cabinet member was not, excuse me, 2 cabinet members in the end were not members of the Trilateral Commission, and there was a bunch of other people that got shuffled into the State Department, no surprise, where collectively they had a total of 1/3 that kind of rotated through the Carter administration, and so they dominated the Carter administration. So it's fair to ask, what was the original Trilateral Commission policy? There is no conspiracy here. We said it in '78, and I still say it. There is no conspiracy. It's wide open. All of their papers were published in the public. All of their books, all of their task force studies, they were all published. All of the people that were writing for them, members of them, wrote papers outside of the Trilateral Commission meetings that explained what was on their mind. It's just that people were too stinking lazy to go out and read it, to get it and read it and see what it said. It's just kind of like Europe refused to read Hitler's book, Mein Kampf, when he told them exactly what he was going to do. Oh, that book is too big for me. Can't go out and read that book. Well, the same thing here. This stuff was out there. Nobody wanted to pay attention to it. But they said over and over and over. They want, in fact, this was their tagline, like their little advertising line right under the name Trilateral Commission. They set out to foster, as they call it, they use the word foster, a new international economic order. That was their goal. That is their goal for 40 years, and it's their goal today. I'll show you how it's their goal, to foster a new international economic order. It was not a political coup. I'll say this again over time here. It was not a political coup. It was an economic coup. The fact that they captured the administrative branch of our government was only to help them achieve the goals economically that they wanted to achieve. You'll see how clear this is in just a minute. They wanted to promote interdependence among nations. There was no call for interdependence back then. The nation state was doing a reasonably good job on its own. Nobody within those countries were called, oh, we need to be interdependent with all of our other neighbors and stuff. Nobody called for that. Yet, they promoted interdependence as if it was a fait accompli, and it was, you know, everybody knows you have to have interdependence in the world today. No, they promoted it, they created the word almost, and they certainly pushed this forward over the years. They promoted free trade by dismantling tariffs and trade barriers. That was part of their technique, starting off right from the get-go. Their version of free trade, which was not free, by the way, at all, was to dismantle the tariff and trade barriers so trade would flow freely around the world in various countries. They have some nefarious purposes in mind for that, by the way, like China. And this was part and parcel of how they would create their system of interdependence between nations and how they would create their new international economic order. The book that set the course for this was Brzezinski's book, Between Two Ages. Anybody read that? Ever read it? Between Two Ages. Note the subtitle, America's Role in the Technocracy Era. We understood what Between Two Ages said because the book is blunt. We did not understand back then what the word Technocracy era meant. Just we had no frame of reference. We thought from this book that what Brzezinski and Rockefeller had in mind basically was to rearrange the economic deck chairs on the Titanic so that they just were, you know, so that the system would pay them rather than paying us. We thought, well, they just figured out another way to get all the money. You know, get all the chips off the table. So it's fair that we should look at Brzezinski a little bit to see what's in this guy's head. Brzezinski proposed in his book a system of societal development where there were 4 stages. The first stage he called religious. He referred to it as narrow-minded, massive ignorance. And to say Brzezinski had a dim view of Christianity is an understatement. But he viewed the whole period of history behind 1850, somewhere around there, 1850 backwards, which was based on, basically on the Bible, at least in this country. And he viewed that as those people, unfortunately, deluded. They were narrow-minded, and they were, basically just buried in massive ignorance. The second stage he called nationalism. He said that was basically equality before the law. In international law back then, with the nation states, there was a lot of difference between nation states, but there was an international system that put equality of those for the law, that is the international law. He had a very dim view of nationalism as well, by the way, and that's why they've been trying to get rid of nationalism around the world ever since. The third stage was Marxism. This is his way, not my analysis even. This is what he said. He said that Marxism represents a further vital and creative stage in the maturing of man's universal vision. Let me point out, Brzezinski was not a Marxist. He was not a Marxist. People have pinned that on him for decades. Say, oh, he's a communist, he's a Marxist, he's this, he's that. I can guarantee you that Brzezinski was not a Marxist, and we need to get that out of our head. He was something even worse than a Marxist, if that's possible. But this leads us to the fourth and final stage, he called it, of human evolution, if you will, of human political evolution. And he called it the Technocracy era. He described it for us as rational humanism on a global scale, the result of American communist evolutionary transformations. That is exactly what he said in his book, Between Two Ages. So the fact that Brzezinski commented favorably on Marxism does not make him a Marxist. He's merely saying it's a necessary stepping stone in the evolution of society to get to the Technocracy era. Does everybody follow with me on this? You got to understand this to get it right. This is where they were going in 1973. Actually, he wrote the book before that, 1970. But this is where the Trilateral Commission was going from day one, was to move towards the Technocracy era. Brzezinski wrote in his book, again, this is 1970, get the sense here, get the idea, his mindset. He wrote, the nation state as a fundamental unit of man's organized life has ceased to be the principal creative force. International banks and multinational corporations are acting and planning in terms that are far in advance of the political concepts of the nation state. This is where Brzezinski started from with Rockefeller, and I can guarantee you that none of them have changed their minds since then. It's the same spiel today that they had back then. You can tell that Brzezinski had a very dim view of the nation state as an organizational entity for us or any other country for that matter. The question is then, how did they use the executive branch to achieve their objectives? This is where you see the pattern. This is where you see that it has been an economic coup, not a political coup. The fact that politics is involved in this is merely incidental. They could not have done what they did without the executive branch under their control, which certainly is the most important position, the most important group of people in the entire world. So let's look at the position of U.S. Trade Representative. You all know what the USTR is, hopefully. These are the guys that negotiate the treaties that have buried America. NAFTA, CAFTA, the World Trade Organization was created by the USTR. They're still negotiating today. The Trans-Pacific Partnership is being negotiated today behind closed doors. Nobody knows what they're talking about, and yet they would like to pass the fast-track legislation again so they can cram it down our throat without even reading it or putting it up for public scrutiny. They've used the position of U.S. Trade Representative to create these treaties, and I'm not going to go in great detail on the individual treaties, but I will point out the President appoints these members. 9 out of 12, historically over the last 40 years, have been members of the Trilateral Commission. Think about that. 9 out of 12. And the current one is a member of the Trilateral Commission. Right now, that's negotiating TPP. Does that mean that Clay Muir and Rob Portman and Ron Kirk were non-trilaterals or really good guys or something? No, not at all. They continued the same party line, they just weren't members. 9 out of 12 is pretty stunning. The President also appoints the President of the World Bank. 6 out of 8 of the presidents of the World Bank since this period of time have been members of the Trilateral Commission. Does this tell you something? Well, yeah. Whose policies have they been implementing? What Congress says to do? Even what the President said, no, this is Trilateral Commission policy. Let's look at the executive office over this period of time. You had Jimmy Carter, Walter Mondale with the first clean sweep in '76. Then you had George H.W. Bush come in as vice president for Ronald Reagan, served for his term as vice president. He's a member. Then he became president. Then Bill Clinton and Al Gore, another clean sweep, came in. Then George W. Jr. Was not a member. Not sure he had the stuff to make it. But Dick Cheney was a member of the Trilateral Commission. In fact, the Cheney family is interesting because his wife, Lynn Cheney, was also a member of the Trilateral Commission in her own right. So they were both of them, husband and wife team, both members of the Trilateral Commission. Very influential. Obama and Biden are not members. However, I'll show you later that they are completely surrounded by members of the Trilateral Commission, and there's nothing they can't move left, right, up, down, sideways without getting through or bumping into a member of the Trilateral Commission. Now let's look at national security advisors. These are the culprits, these are the people that filter everything that gets to the president. 10 out of 17 over the years have been members of the Trilateral Commission. 10 out of 17. You all remember Henry Kissinger. He came in as number 1 because he was in that position even before '73, and he lasted until 1975 when Jimmy Carter was elected. Then Brzezinski came in. We had a few down here that were not members. Frank Carlucci, you might remember, Brent Scowcroft, Anthony Lake, Condoleezza Rice, of course, General James Jones with Obama, Tom Donilon, and Susan Rice, the current NSA. This is a long litany. Oh, does this mean that the rest of these people are okay?
No.
That they didn't do anything? Yeah, well, remember Sandy Berger? His pants were stuffed full of top secret papers. Never got convicted of that, but he tried to steal a whole bunch of stuff that he didn't want anybody to see. So this is the legacy of the Trilateral Commission. So let me ask the question. If you can see the positions now these people held, let me ask the question, what is the new international economic order? What is it, in fact? Well, it's the technotronic era. That's number 1. Number 2, it is to be a controlled society dominated and managed by an elite where Congress is irrelevant and useless. I don't know about you, but I get the feeling when our formerly really good local political people get sent to Washington, it's like they come under a cloud. It's like all of a sudden they come under this little black cloud, starts raining something on them with poison rain, and all of a sudden they get subsumed into the political machine. It's like, where did they go? What happened to them? Well, Congress, even today, is almost just irrelevant. The president says, I'll do what I darn well want. I have a pen and I have a phone. That sounds kind of like a dictator to me, but, Congress, who cares what they do? They can't do anything. I'll just sign an order, executive order, and I'll do it myself. So this is a NIEO where global banks and multinational corporations are the primary actors and planners of economic life. this is key to understand. You know that Goldman Sachs is, you know, behind stuff, for instance, around the world. In fact, I think it was the Danish government the other day, I think it was the Danish government said that it was on the verge of collapse because of a deal made with Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs had bought a major part of their infrastructure, and usually whenever that happens, it's a kiss of death. Some people and politicians are getting wind of this, so when Goldman Sachs came in and really took a big bite out of the country, it almost has taken down the entire government. It's interesting. And then you have part and parcel of the new international economic order is that there must be continuous surveillance over every citizen in order to parse the economic data. That's what's in their mind, parsing the economic data so that they can manage and control the consumers in the society to extract the maximum value of productivity out of your pocket. The more they can get out of your pocket, the better, as far as they're concerned. And then the files containing the information for these people and so on are slated for instant retrieval, because this part, well, you just put it in context of Google. How fast can you do a search on Google? Well, pretty fast. Doesn't matter what you're searching for. You put it in, instantly you got your answer right there in a list on the screen. How long would you sit around and wait for Google to spit out its answers? What if it took 60 seconds? You wouldn't be hanging around that screen very long. If you put in a search and just watch the little wheel go around, you'd either be rebooting your machine or you'd be leaving the room in disgust, saying, this thing is useless. No, the data as it gets accumulated by the machine, if you will, needs to be able to parse this information instantly on individuals. Now I'm going to throw out a new word for you, technocracy. I discovered several years ago now that the word technotronic, in fact, was a knockoff for the word technocracy. This is not a popular American word. It's very common in Europe, just not here. I'm not going to explain why. There's reasons. I'm not going to explain why. But when I became aware that technocracy was a knockoff for the word technotronic, that opened up a whole new avenue of research for me to go and discover what is technocracy all about. Where did it come from? Who wrote the doctrines? You know, where are their papers? Where are their foundational documents? Just like I did with the Trilateral Commission in the 70s. So technocracy with a small t, you can find it in Webster's. It means government by technicians. It means management of society by technical experts. That's not difficult to understand. We see today all over the place people who are quote-unquote technicians who are in positions of writing regulations, of enforcing regulations. You know, where do these people come from that have guns on their hips? You know, so they've been deputized somewhere along the world, somewhere along the way. Nobody knows where they come from, but they have the power to arrest you and throw you in jail for stuff. Management society by technical experts. However, technocracy with a capital T is a horse of a different color. It refers to a replacement economic system based on energy distribution and consumption and run by engineers, scientists, and technicians. Just absorb that for just a second. It's a replacement economic system. Bingo! New international economic order. Technocracy, historically, by definition, was to be a replacement economic system. Well, my background is economics. I have not been able to find one other economist anywhere that I've talked to so far that's willing to tackle technocracy. What does that mean from an economic point of view? Can anybody understand it? Nobody wants to understand it. We're going to understand it. You're going to understand before this is done. What is technocracy? Lo and behold, 1932, Technocracy Incorporated, as an organization, was founded at Columbia University in New York City. Not much good has ever come out of Columbia, if you know.
Right.
But back then, this was the place to be. If you wanted to be in the progressive jet set, whatever, the place to be was at Columbia University. Technocracy Incorporated was founded by two individuals, M. King Hubbard and Howard Scott. Howard Scott was a blowhard promoter, later exposed as being a fraud, but nevertheless, he led Technocracy Inc. until he died later. The other co-founder, M. King Hubbard, does anybody remember that name? M. King Hubbard? You got to go do your history, folks. M. King Hubbard, co-founder of Technocracy Inc. in the 30s, was the very brilliant geophysicist who invented, or no, that's the wrong word. He postulated the so-called peak oil theory in 1954 that has been used against us, if I will, been used against us to promote everything from global warming to the ecology movement to the wildlands program, etc. He's one of the founders and looked at as one of the quote-unquote founding fathers of the eco movement. This guy, M. King Hubbard. This is the guy that came up and wrote with Technocracy Inc. and wrote their Bible on the replacement economic system. And so he created the Technocracy Study Course in 1934. You can go on the internet. It's been scanned. It's there. You can look it up and read it. Just type in Technocracy Study Course. Hubbard created, as I said, the peak oil theory in 54. And here's a picture of an early Technocracy Inc. meeting. You might recognize this. This is the Hollywood Bowl. Look at all the people there. The thing was full. There were hundreds of thousands of people during the Great Depression that took that took the technocracy, like, so to speak, like the fleas on a dog, because they thought capitalism was dead. There was unemployment lines. There was food kitchens. There was, people were just desperate. That was a little bit like today too, I might add. But they were looking for something. They were looking for answers. What can save us? The capitalist machine has failed us. What can we do? Technocracy had a solution, a replacement economic system. Here's the close-up of that same thing. Here's Howard Scott, the leader of the group. And here's the up-close of the Hollywood Bowl. And you can see Howard Scott's right here. He's 6'6", an imposing figure. And here's all of his cohorts, leaders and stuff back here on the stage. You'll notice, by the way, that they all have the same little uniforms on. Yeah. Little gray suits, blue ties, and they have a little pin up here, the bonad. That's the yin-yang signal. The bonad is an occultic symbol. It means balance. They chose that for their logo. And so they all wore the little pin up here on their lapel. And so here they are. All the ladies are dressed in the same, a similar motif, same gray. This was called Technocracy Gray. In fact, the director of operations of Technocracy Inc. was a man by the name of William Knight, who was an aeronautical engineer, worked for a company that was associated with the aerospace industry in Nazi Germany. He wasn't from Germany, but he was very much involved with Germany, and he thought that technocracy should have a paramilitary look. It would be more effective. So he was the one that actually came up with this. I have proof of this, by the way, original source documents are with him. And so, and I'm not going to talk about what technocracy did in Germany, by the way, during World War II. It did play a major role, but it wasn't the same exact organization. It's just the concepts moved from United States to Germany. So anyway, it was a kind of a paramilitary look, and they had a hand salute that, wasn't Heil Hitler, but kind of like Hail to the Chief or something like that. I don't know. And poor old Howard Scott viewed himself as being the chief, the chief, kind of like, I got smart, I guess, again. The chief. He was the guy. Highlights of technocracy. By nature, it produces volumes of viable regulations that are science-based. Science-based, remember that. It creates totalitarian control in the end, but it is not socialism or communism. It's a different animal. It seeks to replace price-based economic systems with an energy-based economic system, which are accounted for by energy credits rather than by money, by the green dollars you have in your pocket. We all know and understand supply and demand and price-based economics. There's been libraries full of books written about that. There are universities full of academics that write about it, speak about it, analyze the price-based economic system. We have different schools of thought within that even. Nobody studied technocracy. It's all back there to look at. The document is very clear in what it says, but it seeks to replace all of the price-based economic systems that we know and love, free enterprise, etc., with an energy-based system that's based on energy credits, not on money. So in 1932, and between 32 and 4, the requirements for technocracy were laid down in the Technocracy study course. You can go buy that book and read it. But not buy it, you can find it on the internet scanned. These are quotations directly from the study course. These are the requirements. Good engineer always writes down the requirements. Any engineers in the room here? Okay, I'm not blaming you guys, by the way. But here's the thing. You give an engineer a project, first thing he does, man, he gets out, well, it used to be get out a yellow pad or his quadro pad, and he start writing down requirements. What am I going to do? You know, I've got to list down all the stuff the system has to do, and then I'll go build it for you. This is what Hubbard did. He said, number one, I'm going to give you 5 of 7. There's only 7. I'm going to give you the first 5. He wrote, register on a continuous 24-hour per day basis the total net conversion of energy. Register on a continuous the technology did not exist back then to do this, you understand. Unless there's somebody standing with a meter outside your house, you know, figuring out everything going in and out. But this was a requirement. Can anybody think smart grid?
Yes, that's good.
I won't say any more about that. Okay. Number 2, by means of the registration of energy converted and consumed, make possible a balanced load. Has anybody currently ever heard the words balanced load in relation to utility companies?
Yeah.
That's all you hear anymore. We need a balanced load. Well, you say, what does that mean? Most people don't have any clue what that means. In 1934, they understood what that means just fine. They want to create a balanced load by basically telling you, the consumer, what you can and cannot consume versus what they will and want to produce. Just that simple. Number 3, provide a continuous inventory of all production and consumption. You can see the economic overtones here. Continuous inventory of all production and consumption. It means they want to know everything you buy, everything you put in your mouth, can I dare say your carbon footprint? They want to know everything about you on a continuous basis. Number 4, provide a specific registration of the type, kind, etc. of all goods and services where produced and where used. So it's not just that you use it, they want to know where you use it and how you use it. Okay? In other words, to get the crosshair, a 3-dimensional crosshair on you, it's not enough to know that you ate a Snickers bar last week. They want to know that you ate a Snickers bar at Dillard's in the morning. Whatever. That's more meaningful than just the fact that you ate a Snickers bar. Number 5, provide specific registration of the consumption of each individual, plus a record and description of the individual. Now, if there aren't any light bulbs going on in your head at this point, God help you. You're either brain dead or you're too tired and you still need to be in bed. But this was written in 1934. Can anybody think NSA? Can anybody think Homeland Security? What are they accumulating? Data. Whose data? Everybody's data. Not just terrorists, not just bad guys. They want everybody's data. Why? Because technocracy required that that kind of data be gathered on everybody in the economic system. Had nothing to do with crime, nothing to do with political intent. It had to do with economics. So, what are some current examples of the Trilateral Technocracy Action Plan? Number 1, I'm going to give you a definition. from the United Nations. They're key in this because they've been used to push this agenda. This is a direct quote from the UN Environmental Program, UNEP, from their website and their mission statement. You can digest this on your own. You better get some Gas X pills or something before you start this, because it will give you heartburn. Then it will give you a headache. Then I don't know what it will do. But it says a green economy. Stop right there. What on earth is a green economy? What does that mean? You have to think about this, because I'm going to suggest to you it is absolutely unvarnished technocracy from 1934. But the United Nations now carries this on their website. The definition says a green economy implies the decoupling of resource use and environmental impact from economic growth. Stop again. How can you possibly decouple resource use from economic growth? Duh! You can't. They're buried. You got to have inputs. You got to have metals. You've got to have energy. You've got to have other kinds of resources. How can a farmer farm without inputs? You can't tell him he can't measure his farming practice anymore based on the resource, based on any kind of supply and demand. We're going to decouple that. So it says these investments, both public and private, provide the mechanism for the reconfiguration of business infrastructure institutions. Whoa, stop again. Reconfiguring business? Are there businessmen in here? Anybody in business? One? Anybody work for business? Okay. What do you mean reconfigure business? Doesn't this scare you?
Yes.
Isn't it a little concerning if these guys want to reconfigure business? How about infrastructure and institutions? What does that mean? Duh. Governments, the institutions of local governments as well, all the way up to national, and for the adoption of sustainable consumption and production processes. Doesn't that sound like technocracy too? This is UNEP. This is the program that's coming at us like an express train. Actually, multiple express trains coming down. And so would you be surprised that we have Agenda 21 with us today since 1992 as an official policy of the United Nations that's changing the fabric of society all over the world, not just in America. Everybody heard of Agenda 21?
Yes.
You know some of what it is. This is where it comes from. And you say, oh, that was the UN did that. No, it wasn't. The policies that are in Agenda 21 can be traced back to at least one book that I happen to have in my possession that was written in 1974. It was a task force report funded by the Rockefeller Brothers Fund called The Use of Land. And the policies that are in Agenda 21 booklet, all 340 pages, came out of that book. In 1974, it took until 1992 to get it all together where they could launch the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro to produce this from the United Nations point of view. They always use a surrogate, by the way. The UN was a willing surrogate to push this policy forward. This is where it comes from, and it's a plan to change the world. It's a plan to convert the green economy, the brown economy, into a green economy. The price-based economic system into an energy-based economic system. And that's exactly what the book says. It also says, no more property rights for any of you. You selfish people, you. You don't know what to do with your property. You're always doing something that hurts the public good. Therefore, you just don't need to you don't need a private property. We will manage the resources in trust for the common good. And we will let you use little slices of it as we feel that you should, have some piece of the pie. And that's it. Property rights are done away with Agenda 21. Says so. Black and white. They said the very same thing in 1934. Go read the book. No property rights in a technocracy. They believed that the only thing you needed to have was energy credits. They would tell you where to work, how to work, what to work, and you would get your energy credit allocation like food stamps at the end of the period, the beginning of the period, and you could spend your energy credits on anything you wanted, and at the end of the period they would expire and you'd lose them. So you couldn't save them. They felt, as societal engineers, this is all you need. You silly little people out there. You don't need your own car. You need a bicycle. Maybe just walking. You don't need a nice big house with air conditioner, whatever. Come on, just open the windows up and let the breeze come through and help us make a balanced load. Well, here's the timeline of events. This is a little detailed, but just follow with me. June 13, 1992, the UN Conference on Environmental Development took place. This is where the book came from. March 3rd, 1993, Clinton and Gore, two members of the Trilateral Commission, they announced the National Partnership for the Reinvention of Government. Reinvention of government, huh? Decoupling, all that stuff from the green, from UNEP. Interesting. And then April 23rd, 1993, the Agenda 21 book is published. Then on June 29, 1993, Clinton signs Executive Order 12852, the President's Council on Sustainable Development. Congress didn't want anything to do with this crap. They didn't. They said, we're not putting up with this. So Clinton merely signed an executive order and set it into soft law, if you will. And this is the reason that all the sustainable development stuff ever since has been brought into our country under the auspices of Agenda 21. And then, on September 11, 1993, Clinton signed another one, EO 12862, National Performance Review of Renewable Government. This was, we just look at the timeline, mid-92 to third quarter of 93, everything was put in a play by two members, or at least one member of the Trilateral Commission, to set this in motion in our country. This was part of the coup that they accomplished. Then you have smart grid, controlling energy. Say, where on earth did smart grid come from? 2009, when the country was in horrible economic crisis. Remember, stimulus money was being thrown all over the place to try and stimulate the economy. While Obama was trying to create jobs, he just happened to spend a few $100 million on getting the smart grid kick-started in our country. So all utility companies start getting these grants and these funds to go out and start putting in smart meters. Of course, it's the Siemens and the GEs and so on. They're providing the smart meter, but out they went, and now we have it all across our country. I was shocked to find that there is a global smart grid underway. You think national smart grid is going to get your goat? You just wait. There's a global smart grid being created today with the same earnest and zeal from 2009, with people like, you see some of the endorsers, this is one of the websites, by the way, Terawas, that promotes this global smart grid. They figured out ways, by the way, to transmit large bulks of energy from continent to continent. So literally now you could have huge solar farms in the Sahara Desert and have all the energy piped up in mass into Europe. This is their idea. They want to control it from the top down. But here's some of the people over the years that have promoted this. And look at his face, he's right smack down in the middle. This is Industry Graphic right off their website. Oh, Al Gore? Oh, what is Al Gore? Well, the poster child for global warming. Also a member of the Trilateral Commission. That's curious. Sustainable development. We'll talk about it, but the whole idea of balance in sustainable development is what it's all about. This is that and by the way, can you go into any government office anywhere in this country, small, big, medium, and not hear the word sustainable? It's like they're stuck on it. They're stuck on the word. Is that sustainable? Well, it's absolutely insane, but they've done a good marketing job. And here we have global warming. Where did that come from? Well, who's the poster child? Who's been driving it? Al Gore, almost single-handedly in the early years. And here he is on his DVD, An Inconvenient Truth, promoting global warming. How about cap and trade? It almost failed once. It's coming back. Cap and trade is nothing more than a precursor to a full-blown digital currency. They're looking at this in other countries as well. England is almost at that point right now. What about Obamacare? This is kind of a wild card. Let me suggest
that Obamacare is not about your health, it's about your data. Can you understand how important your health data is to your economic profile? It's missing. They've got to have your data in order to be able to complete the profile so they can slice and dice your demographics, psychographics, and whatever to figure out what kind of an economic unit you are yet. Interesting. Here's an industry graphic that demonstrates the consumer-centric nature of technocracy. I didn't put the name of the company up. I don't want it to skew what you're thinking. But I want you to look at the center here as customer. This is you, the customer. And I want you to look how this is a major, Fortune 100 type global company. Look at the little discs that they put around this. Here is climate change, health promotion, renewable energy, water footprint, biodiversity, economic risk management, sustainable building, sustainable constructions, and a new term, cradle to cradle. Cradle, you've heard of cradle to grave.
Yes.
Cradle to cradle is now concerned, because of genetics and stuff like that, is now concerned with your progeny as well as you. So when you die, you're going to leave some genetic footprint that's very similar to you in your place, and so on goes the cycle of life, right? You can see, though, that the economic nature of this, with the customer placed at the center, this is the system that they have been building for these past 40 years. It's driven by economics. Total control over the economic process depends directly upon total information awareness within that economic system. And now you know why they need a total surveillance society. This is missed almost everybody I brought this up to. The Director of National Intelligence now has oversight of all the intelligence communities in the country. The four main ones that we know and love are the CIA, the National Security Agency, the NSA, the Department of Homeland Security, and the FBI. Everybody knows those names. Not too many people know, however, that the NSA actually has authority over 16 different agencies. And I'm not going to read the seal, but there they are. You can go find and read them yourself. There's a bunch of them. When you look at this in detail, you wonder, why does the National Weather Bureau need to have, some kind of a intelligence agency? What do they do? So there they are. Well, this Director of National Intelligence is very interesting, because for the first time, when this position was created, for the first time, it brought all the agencies under one umbrella. And of course, it was under the idea that, let's just say, it was created by George Bush on April 21st, 2005. Thank you, George. I'm not sure George suggested this. I think maybe Dick Cheney had a little bit more to do with this than Bush did. But nevertheless, he proposed this, created this agency in 2005, and the first ever Director of National Intelligence was John Negroponte. Some of you remember him. He was kind of a rat in his own right. He did a lot of stuff that was very aggravating. John Negroponte was a member of the Trilateral Commission. Out of 100 people, you could only find one qualified person in the whole nation to head this position, and he's a member of the commission? I don't think so. Sounds like a little bit of, it's more than cronyism. And then you have the intelligence trilaterals that are around Obama. Anyone want to say on that? Nope. You have, this is a few, Admiral Dennis Blair. He's Director of National Intelligence. Then you have Susan Rice, NSA. You have Tom Donilon. You remember him? He's NSA. Not now, but he was. General James Jones, National Security Advisor. This is just side note. Can you put your mind back to Benghazi for just a second? Who was the NSA? Who had all the talking points in their pocket when they went out to the press to tell the press how it was some stupid movie made in California that caused the Benghazi incident? Susan Rice. Is it a coincidence they were both members of the Trilateral Commission acting stupid? Well, I don't know what else. Nobody knows. I read it in the newspaper just like you. Are
Are you kidding me? You see? Really? They have surrounded Obama during this period of time. Shift gears with me to Europe just for a second. I want you to see where technocracy goes. David Rockefeller himself, in 1998, speaking at the 25th year anniversary of the Trilateral Commission, this was a public speech, well, it made it out to the press. He wrote, back in the early 70s, the hope for a more unified Europe was already full-blown, thanks in many ways to the individual energies previously spent by so many of the Trilateral Commission's earliest members. I will amen that personally because they created the economic union in Europe from the get-go. It was their creation. It was Valéry Giscard d'Estaing who wrote the actual constitution of the EU in 2000. They've infiltrated, they've completely dominated the EU, the project they call it, since it began in the early 70s. And so, when there was an economic crisis in Europe in 2011, you remember when Greece was burning, it seemed like it was going to burn to the ground. You remember Italy was just having a horrible, horrible time of it. This is the headline from New York Times Europe edition. Greece and Italy seek a solution from technocrats. They used the word. I'll go with that. So, what do? The Italy Prime Minister that is appointed by the EU commissioners, who were not elected, nor was he elected, Mario Monti steps in as the head Prime Minister in Italy, completely outside the democratic process. He was shoved down their throat by the EU. He was not only a member of the Trilateral Commission for peace sake, he was European chairman of the Trilateral Commission. The most important position for the Commission in Europe. And then we have Greece. Same thing happened in Greece. Who stepped in there? Lucas Papadimos was appointed, not elected. He's a European member of the Trilateral Commission, called technocrats, unappointed dictators, if you will. Did they go in to solve the political problems? No. They went in to solve the problems. Did they? Yes. They parceled off most of the important infrastructure projects to their buddies in their global corporations like Goldman Sachs, so that the countries were sliced up and parceled out to all these other economic entities. It was an economic issue, not a political issue, even the Prime Minister. Do you think the Greeks and the Italians were happy with that? They were up and up. Well, wait a minute. Doesn't the West get most of its political capital from Rome and from Greece? Isn't Greece sort of the original Garden of Eden, if you will, for Western civilization? Yeah. Isn't it ironic that these are the two countries that are taken over by dictatorship, literally, from these people known as technocrats in the Trilateral Commission? This is stunning. It's stunning. And you look at it, well, that's over there. Wait a minute. Who says that couldn't happen here? In our country. Will there be a day, someday, when the Trilateral Commission decides that it's going to appoint a leader in our country that we did not elect and that we have to obey, or else? Well, you figure it out. I will suggest the precedent has been set, and I would not be too comfortable with these guys to say that they wouldn't do it. And they're appointed by unelected European Commission, technocrats, other technocrats. So in conclusion, let's wrap it up. Technocracy is very close to total omnipotence. It really is. You look at what the NSA has done to build this economic intelligence gathering feature. They're sucking up every bit of information everywhere in the whole world. Their new plant down in Utah, which you've probably all seen somewhere along the way in the news, this new plant in Utah has a data storage capacity in the neighborhood of 5 zettabytes. That's a new term. You got megabytes, gigabytes, whatever, terabytes. A zettabyte you've never heard of, but it's 10 to the 26th power. Okay, number 10, 26 zeros. That's a lot of numbers. Somebody did a study in 2011 to determine how much digital information is there all around the world. they figured out there was 2.7 zettabytes. Of course, it's growing. But they figured the whole world, everything in the world, banks, videos, everything, digital, 2.7 zettabytes. The NSA now has a startup database, 5 zettabytes. What are they going to do with 5 zettabytes? Well, they got 5, they get 5 more. See, they don't want just the information that is in our country on bad guys. They are collecting all the information in the world and bringing it down to a single database. It's just that simple. This is old religion, but it's newly implemented by the Trilateral Commission as the green economy. It is the primary sponsor of programs like Agenda 21, Sustainable Development, Smart Grid, Biodiversity, Wildlands Project, and I could go on. There's a bunch of them that are all related together. It will result in scientific dictatorship in the end. This is not communism. If you haven't read the book Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, or 1984, you should run out and get a copy, go to your library, read it again, because both of these people were looking into the face of technocracy when they wrote their books. Most people never understood that. I didn't know that. I had to read in high school. It's a classic. 1984, both of them. Brave New World. Look at the date on Brave New World was published. 1932. Huxley knew full well what was going on with technocracy. He was right there in the middle of it, if you will. And so those books extrapolate the trend, the ideology, where is it leading us? They concluded it's leading towards a scientific dictatorship, and we see exactly this is what's happening today in countries around the world. This is where it's leading. I'll say thank you to that. I've given you a boatload of information, I realize, in a short period of time. I've got a book at the back here called Trilateral Takeover that I have to sell it because I copied it. You can have it for whatever, 20, 25 bucks. My able assistant over here, actually my lovely daughter-in-law, Malin, will be over here to kind of process that. I'll introduce my son too. Ben is here. He wasn't alive when I first came to this group, but he's here now. And I also have a copy of the 2013 Trilateral Commission membership list. If you'd like a copy of that, I printed it. I'll sell it to you for $5. Now you can go get it yourself. Just go to trilateral.org. You can download it.
But then they know you downloaded it.
You may not want your ID on us, So I saved you the trouble. They know who I am for sure. So I printed it. You can have that for $5. It's several pages. But you'll have fun with it. Just kind of reading through all the names and seeing who they are. It'll open your eyes. You'll see some stuff you never saw before. So anyway, thanks for your time. Appreciate it. And God bless you.
I wanted to see if you came up. Can we turn this off?
Yes.
One thing that you may have heard, you start to hear, and we weren't talking about them yet, but carbon credits. Goldman Sachs, whatever. Goldman Sachs set themselves up as the arbiter and the trader in carbon credits in preparation for this. So the entire global economy, based on energy credits with, all the smart meter stuff going on and everything, we've done shows on that and such, is that if they are able to determine a net energy usage per person or per household, they're going to be able to use that as the foundation for a currency called carbon credits that Goldman Sachs has already set themselves up to be the Federal Reserve of carbon credits. So and what happened? Bitcoin. All of a sudden, the people started using, what about this silver dime thing? What about precious metals? What about foreign currency trade? Kind of break with in Bitcoin. When that happened, I don't know, the CIA had to come up with it or something. I mean, you have no idea what's going on, but it will be something like that. So my question is that the next phase that we can look to, obviously, they've been in the position. I've been hearing about it since I was one of these young kids, revolutionary going around. I was as young as Matt, okay? I've been hearing about this, and then you see it actually coming into play. What is the next stage that we can look forward to in legislation or something that they would have a triggering event?
Camera off now? Yeah, keep it. If you don't mind, turn it off. I don't want to answer this on my phone.
A Neo, though. There's always the one. There's always somebody. There's always a Snowden. There's always somebody, they go, what did he release? And They said their answer was what? Everything. So they're still going through a lot of what they're, but it may even been a plot for him to do it just to desensitize you because they're ready to pull the trigger anyway. You have nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah.
One of the speakers at the Freedom Summit is Rosa Corey. Rosa Corey worked for the Department of Transportation in California doing eminent domains or something in pricing. But anyway, she came across from a perspective, of a progressive, lesbian, Democrat, whatever. She has Democrats Against Agenda 21. She'll be one of the speakers. She wrote the book Behind the Green Mask. And all of this, a lot of the time, they'll see what it's doing, but they don't understand the history that it was planned to do decades and decades ago. This is all part of a tapestry of one kind of philosophy. We, because we're smarter and prettier than you, rule you. Did you get the memo? Or the executive order? So, carbon credits. When Al Gore came speak at the Make One ballpark, or where it was, or the basketball arena or something, it was about 10, I think it was, he'd come. And everybody's like, oh, Ernie, we're making signs. We're going to make signs. One thing, we're going down with signs. Oh, whatever, free me, whatever it was. Signs. What do you want your sign to be? And I go, I have one. Make this sign. This is what I want. You ready? What happens when it gets cold? Well, what's happened? It's getting cold. So they don't call it global warming anymore. It's climate change. Do you think monarchies don't have books of history of forever and they and so on? It's like the Aztecs, when the priests stand up there and they're, sitting over in the chest and throwing bodies and heads down and pulling hearts and everything and looking, we rule you and control because we know when the eclipse comes. And the sun went away and it came back. Oh man, you pegged that one. You son of a bitch in charge. The sun went freaking away and it came back. I don't know who I'm worshiping. Whoever claimed that one, man, you got my allegiance. You see my point? It's knowledge. Who knows more? As people start democratizing information on the internet, we start to have, but that could go away like this. When you search Google, you don't search the internet. You search every page of the internet on Google servers. They have everything. And they're starting to wipe it away down the memory hole. You start going looking for different pages, old stuff that's kind of all of a sudden, if it's embarrassing to the man, they go, damn, man, we didn't know you had that. That one's gone now too. So this 1984 Brave New World and stuff is like a manual. So I'm going, okay. Then you see scripts, TV scripts. Like what? Wag the Dog? The Siege? A lot of these movies, hell, they just mounted, the Trilaterals wrote it. And a lot of times it's a desensitizing thing. So what is it that we can do in the Breakfast Club and the work of Mr. Woods and so on? What is it good for? It's a radar screen. Where do you put your resources, your time, your effort? How do you achieve? Because there's always going to be a breakout. There's always going to be the revolutionaries. There's always going to be the one, compound of I'm over here, Singapore, Ecuador, or something. There's always going to be that. Where? When is it? The Freedom Summits. These are the guys. You want to not die? These are the guys. You think I'm kidding, man? Who's the one up there in 05, 06, 07? Peter Schiff, Ron Paul, Lou Rockwell, Walter Block, Bumper Hornberger, Future Freedom Foundation, Vince Brown. It goes on and on. Bumper Schaefer. On and on, saying, here it comes. Now what do? I told you so. We've got to have solutions. That's what Mike and Brian were doing this afternoon, how to grow your own freaking food. Karen Hudis, attorney for the World Bank, she's on going, well, we got to fix it. It's not fixed right. It should be fixed. And if they did it right and serving the people, they would do this. I'm going, you don't understand. It's not to do that. It's to do what they want. You're not going to fix an organization. She was all about the fix. She happened to have been in town. She came over for dinner. Mike came over. She came over for dinner. Chad Usbeth that does the Aquapon Endless Food Systems that supplies it, he came over. He was on Doomsday Prepper. And they always say, why did you build this, do this, grow this, whatever, for what? Super volcanoes or, zombie apocalypse, whatever, so on. He gets up, good Christian, beautiful wife, 2 kids, and he goes, we're preparing for democide. What? Yeah, democide. More people, 660, 80, whatever million people in the last century alone. More people, more than pandemics, more than disease, more than war, more than anything. There have been more people killed by their own governments. Democide, death by your own government. That's what we're preparing for. Well, how would they do it? I don't know. They got a cornucopia of ways, man. You know, don't worry about it. They got plenty of ways. All right? So he, having been in that position, comes and talks to Karen, attorney for the World Bank, wants to fix how we're going to get ruled. They're not ruling us right. So you can imagine that spaghetti dinner. That was interesting. But what did she see? Us growing food. What if you really, 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 really think it's going to get bad? Would you understand things like alternative energies? Would you understand things about growing your own food? Would you understand how good, and one of the ticket prices you're going to get, Donna left some eggs, right? Yeah. So Donna, our own egg is beautiful. Ooh, I'm not starving. Got chickens. Okay? So this is good information, because if you didn't come to the Breakfast Club in the 90s, early 90s, when I started going as a young man, if you didn't get this stuff from here, you didn't get it. This is where it happened. Now it's on the internet. Hell, Trilateral's got their own webpage. Proud up. They denied it right up until they had a webpage. You know, it's amazing to me. Everybody's going, NSA, what's that? It doesn't exist. Hell, I saw it in 1988 in legislation. You know, so this is, here we go. I want to thank Patrick Woods. I want to make sure you guys have an opportunity to go ahead and support his work over here. Some of you got some money and you might want to have and get. And then, you know, maybe he'll share with us. We'll come on the radio. We'll talk about it. We'll get some PDFs up on the slide. We'll promote this work, because this is a continuation of other stuff.
No more questions? That was a question. No more questions? I mean, Q&A's over?
It is 10:20. She's got that card over there freaking out to get over here to clean this stuff off.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You know, if you guys willing to sit for a little bit, take a couple questions?
Patrick, given the current state of economic affairs in America, which is really pretty bad for most of the middle class, especially middle class, which I think is due to these trade policies like NAFTA, so much is due to these trade policies like NAFTA and so forth. Did tend to disparage crony capitalism, which is really nothing like the capitalism envisioned by Thomas Jefferson or Adam Smith. I mean, really, truly, honestly, is it any wonder why a lot of people get down on capitalism these days?
No, it's not. It's not a wonder. They, you know, what used to be, just, you know, free enterprise capitalism is altogether different than what we see in global capitalism. And the system that exists in the global world today only has the name capitalism in common with anything else. It's a creation of their own making, and it seems like it already has the seeds of destruction built into it. So if we can say at least there's a great moral hazard to push the global economy into oblivion at some point, so that the new technocratic era can rise up. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, to have, you know, a left-right thing is to be kind of really narrow-minded on this. Because, I mean, look at it. You had Zabriskie, which was, you know, came into a Democratic administration with Carter and Clinton and Gore. Now Gore definitely, and this was what, for the people and the environment and everything. That's all BS. You know, stop. You know, I mean, I'll slap some people sometimes. You know, it's all, yeah, but we vote for it, it's a left or right. No, it's not. That's why Rosa Clore, you know, I've had her on the show a couple of times. I'm looking forward, I'm having to fly her in from Acapulco, I think it is. Pay a little extra for her to come and talk to you guys from her perspective on the left that saw what was happening when the rubber meets the road in eminent domain from the state of California on its citizens. So this is how you want to know what you, oh man, it's getting bad. I'm growing some tomatoes in my front yard. No, you're not the Sieg Heil Hill clicking, you know, neighborhood zoning police, you're not allowed people. You know, and is that a left or right thing? You think they'd be supportive of food? I'm telling you, this is not going to go as much as I make fun of it, and I'm kind of, hey, we're having fun and whatever. In the meantime, how much food are you growing? How much food do you have under your bed? How much water purification do you have? How much ammunition, guns? How much are you stacking in silver? How much? What do you have? Are you even adding knowledge or even learning how to grow food. Because if you're not, I don't want to hear your whining crap coming up and knocking on my door. Oh, I hear you tell you got some food. Yeah. Sucks to be you. You gotta learn it. What's a project? Won't you be my neighbor? Donna goes out to all of our, that was the title a couple of months ago, a few months ago, on our doing the dome. All my neighbors see that big geodesic colored dome out there. We just started putting the coverings up. It's looking really pretty. We started planting everything. Everyone, oh, what? The mailman comes over. He's like, oh, what the hell are you? What the hell? Go tell everybody, okay? So what happens? Is to save what? My dog. My dog is food, man. They're going, you know, that dog looking tasty, you know? So it's about saving my dog. Why? Won't you be my neighbor? Which means what? Not being a butthead. And I will be a butthead to you. But what do they got? GPS coordinating where the grain silo we're going to come take you got? You know, what about one of the trailers that we have are doing the energy? You know, I can do my battery thing. We got solar coming on. We got, you know, World Tech over here with their energy project thing doing. I saw my Consumer Electronics show up there hawking their thing. You know, this is, you know, the future is, you know, here we go. Where are you? Sitting here listening, getting the information? Good. Then what? Matt Tapke running for city council in Tempe. All of a sudden they're like, damn it, man, he's kind of damn it. So here they start running and saying, here comes some Democrats, here comes some the machine, here comes the McCain thing. And think left, right, is it not, you go high enough on the pyramid, it's the same people at the top controlling both sides. Everything that Jeff Greenspan was talking about, you think they don't have a buddy relationship with the Democrats? Seriously. So I'm just, so I have a legislator come on, a state senator on my show yesterday. I don't even, oh, well, no, you're not. But we're going to, no, you're not. But we have you, no, you're not. Don't piss me off. I go, the best you can get from me is to not piss me off. That I don't target you. You know, the best thing, you don't want me engaged. You don't want me, because if I get engaged, I'm going to find the truth and I'm going to tell it. Patrick Wood has done a really good job of giving you an idea of, it goes way back. And it goes back so far that they blame capitalism for everything in certain fits and starts like they do now. And capitalism is just a side effect of a free society. Real capitalism, to where your capital is protected. Where the only role of government is that they protect what is yours. That's it.
I got a question for Mr. Wood. Do you have any, this system's gotta have some weaknesses, some major flaws, but, you know, some way to bring it down. With some hacker that isn't born yet or whatever, that surely can't be perfect. What do you think?
They brought it to us, global to local. We need to take it to them, local to global.
That's right.
Just that simple. You fight it on a local basis at this point.
As an individual.
At this point, you have the opportunity to get your hands on somebody, you know, physically, where you can see who they are, you can confront them in the local community to make a difference. If you, and this is happening all over the country, by the way. This is not just esoteric advice. There are plenty of communities and counties and even some state legislatures who have successfully combated Agenda 21 and sustainable development. And on a local basis, when you make an example out of somebody, you go get them. And you bring them to, you know, you bring the end of the plans. You're sending a message of the food chain, basically. Okay, we took care of this guy. So you look up who's above him. You say, you're next. And you keep working your way up the food chain. And that's really about the only thing we can do right now. The political power that exists on a national scale, even on a state scale, is so entrenched that us, quote unquote, little people we don't have enough power individually to go and do, even collectively, to go and do anything about it. However, on a local basis, you get 300 or 400 citizens together, you can do a lot. And you have, on a local basis, you have a lot of power to do things in your own local community and to rid your community of this influence, these influences.
Yeah, I would like to have a question, then we're done, and Frank will come up.
Yeah, this technocracy is based upon energy control, consumption, and management. Nikola Tesla, 100 years ago, demonstrated that we live in a sea of free energy. He demonstrated how to use it. That technology has been lost for several generations now, but it's coming back. Aurora Tech here is working on projects. I'm working on projects, and there's thousands of individual inventors that demonstrate free energy. Isn't that the chink in the armor? If energy is free, the knowledge of how to generate that can spread like wildfire among the grassroots.
Not if you pass a law.
Yeah, right. But you know, in a black market format,
You're not allowed, there's a law. Those electrons belong to the universe, just like the airwaves of public FCC transmission of, they just pass a law. How effective that'll be, that's another thing. See, that's why I'm solution, you talk a small group of people can, yeah, and I'm going to the small that one individual can. That's my point, it's an individual thing. Well, we need to get together no, you don't. You need to just start using silver in your transactions. You need to start using Bitcoin in your transactions. You need to start growing your own food and making your own power. You! Quit waiting on everybody else to do something. Just do it. And all of a sudden, law of attraction, like minds, quantum reality, what do you want to call it? Everybody starts going, ooh, and there'll be a bunch of them with Brian and Mike and me today at the farm. I rest my case. Where are you? No. Anything you want to wrap up before we bring up Frank?
I would only mention that the CEO, chairman of Google, was just out to be a member of the Colorado Commission. There you go.
It's all theirs, man. Thank you very much, Patrick.
I want you guys to take a good look at this.
It's opposite end.
Politically correct egg, environmentally correct, from the Ernie farm. Oh, look, they're multiracial. We got another special one here this morning. This is a one-day pass to the golf tournament. Either today or tomorrow, as I understand. Says on here it's worth $30. What we'll do with these two, we'll draw the tickets out. If you're not going to use it, play safe pass. We want somebody that'll actually use these things.
But does the person who passes get a free book?
As soon as we do the drawing, real quick, we're going to have Matt give us an update on his Tempe race real quick. He said 5 minutes.
Ready, draw one? This will be for the egg, courtesy of Ernie. Not Ernie, huh?
No, I can't read it.
7711. 7711. Wrong. Eggs? You're gonna pass. Okay. The gentleman will draw another one here, please. 7727. 7727.
There you go.
What doesn't racially correct egg?
I remember you got those chickens.
Yeah, no, these are awesome. It was like Easter Sunday.
Put these two back in here. And, got two gentlemen here. Ticket? This is for the golf tournament. And it is, if I can remember here, 7723. 7723. You were passed?
No, he wants to give it to me. All right, he's going.
He's going back.
I didn't know chance.
There's two here, we'll see what, oh, we got a bunch of, okay. 7707.
Yeah.
You wanna go to the
That for the golf thing?
golf tournament?
You want the golf thing? I'll pass. Can I get a free book?
Here, let me.
We'll get to the books in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, come on, man. I'm in.
We'll get to the books. This may take a little while. 7702.
Yes!
That was not fixed, guys, that's not fixed. All right. You wanna try for the book, put your card back, take it back.
No.
You're gonna draw one. All right.
Yeah, it's a flat south, which is
7730.
south, and then
First chance at the books on the left-hand table.
Great.
7730, that's me.
7730.
Yeah, he's got it. The first two, look at the books back there.
Okay,
There's a
those
table
books
back
right there.
Yeah.
Take your choice.
all right.
Hurry up for the next guy beats
Next
you.
guy's gonna get along in and get your book. 7726.
Very close. It might go over by there.
7726.
Intimate setting.
Chance at the book. Last chance for books, then we're over. We had fun today, we're gonna try this again next week.
We're gonna get
next
mad in a
month.
couple minutes.
Oh, you need to do that. 7728.
There you go. All right, Matt, rock and roll before everybody leaves. Matt Papke, heavily, but went to Tampa and RNC, doing the delegate, kind of playing Ron Paul, got the bug. We're gonna fix America, okay? And he's running in Tempe. Tell us what's going on.
Anybody here from Tempe, live in Tempe now? So I'm the only one. So we're not going to talk about Tempe. Ernie's damn right. It starts with the individual, and one person can make a big difference. Even in your HOA, get on the damn board. Say, no, we're going to have chickens in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Go to your development board in your cities. Go to water boards, your education boards. It means a lot to sit here and get some amazing information and knowledge like you guys do. You guys know magnitudes more than anybody on city council I know. You just tell you about how the work works. Seriously. We need you to be leaders in your communities. And if you don't do it, you're gonna have a tough time bitching about it and having somebody care. Like Ernie said, don't show up at my door and ask for food when you didn't go build a farm. I got farms, I got chickens, I'm doing it. You guys can totally do this. You gotta get your neighbors together and say, look, we're gonna put a stop to this madness. Because if we don't, you got the technocracy. It ain't to say, stop. And that's what's really important, guys. And I'm dead serious. If we don't start standing up and actually doing things other than waving signs, and I'm talking about getting inside the belly of beasts now and then, fighting them from the inside, we can affect some serious change. Let me give you a short little bit example how that's done in Arizona. Jeff talked about the Republican Party. Camera's still on or off? It's on. So I'm not going to name counties. Right now, 5 counties in the state of Arizona, Republican Party leadership, the chairmen and women are Ron Paul activists. That happened in a very short amount of time. I'm not saying go right's right, or left is, go left. I'm saying we want to look past. It's happening. The Liberty Movement took over the Republican Party. We took about 30% of the leadership spots, and there's more on the way. And the more we talk to some of the Tea Party guys and girls who love the Constitution but have no idea what the hell the Trial Commission is, and are starting to learn about Agenda 21, the more they realize that it's just a big bunch of BS. It's just dividing us, and it's not serving a purpose. But if you get inside and you do good and you have good intent, and you can pass when the ring of power comes around, you can use it for what you need to do to empower the people and then give it back, then you need to be doing this kind of stuff. Because this is great, information's great, action's what makes it happen. So thank you, Ernie, for having us, man. Thank you for all you do.
Yeah, good luck. Matt running in Tempe is just, it's just concentrated itty bitty college kind of fun, you know what I mean? So when the time comes, you'll notice I started playing. Thanks for coming. I'm not sure what's going to be on next month. It'll be a lot about the summit, I guarantee it. Because the summit is always where, where'd the Levolution come from? People at the summit. Where'd a lot of this awareness of a lot of different kind of the economic and housing, we, kind of stayed, we didn't dot the summit. Go to the summit. We'll see you guys next month.